Hey, from Bugeye Guy, check this out. Luigi, a 1958 Bugeye. And the early 58 cars are particularly cool because they have a bunch of unique features that you don't find on all the later cars. And we got about 12 cars in here. And of course, as happens with most classic cars, there's a mixture of parts on all of them. So some have their authentic stuff, some don't. This one has the authentic 58 windshield. Of course, it would have had matching leaf green pillars, but someone polished these quite nicely, and so they're not technically correct, but they're the right shape and profile. And what's really cool is they're more slender. It reminds me a lot of the 104, which of course was designed by Jerry Coker as well. And they're just more graceful, the early windshield setup. You can see it here on the later car. This is a 1960 Bugeye next door, and it's a more stout pillar, a little bit thicker, and a beefier windshield frame. In fact, it has this hook over here, underneath here for the top bow to engage, which gives you a more secure top fitting. Of course, on these, you'll notice there's 9 studs across the top, which, like on a TR3, there was a chance for the water to come up through there. Many of these leak. Of course, they leak even under the best of circumstances. But they upgraded that design, and I believe a lot of people broke the early pillars by grabbing on, getting in and out, and flexing this and breaking these stanchions. Now that said, this particular one has a crack right here. Let's see if I can show you that. Somebody broke that one. Can you see it opening and closing right about there in the center of your screen? There's a crack right there. And this pillar is junk, and we'll change that when we restore this car. This one's waiting its turn. But ironically, we have a stronger frame on this one, and it's the one that's broken in our building, such as life with Bugeyes. The other big difference that's really cool and interesting is that on these very early cars, there was no gusset in the front here, no fillet. The later cars, I'll show you, had like a piece welded right where the light is there. You'll see it in a minute. There is a support right there. I'll show you on another car, another 58 next door. They did support it, but they added additional support because apparently some of the early cars failed. Now, I've never been able to tell a difference on a 58 that has been a production car. In other words, this gusseting seems more than adequate. But initially, it didn't even have this. They bolted the gussets in on the very early prototypes, and then after a while, they even went further and built a bigger fillet. So there you can see in the back one triangle, and then here's that other piece in the center of your screen. This, if you can see it, there is another triangular gusset. And here again, it's missing this fillet. If we look over here at Booker, you will see the difference there. See that little shelf, if you will, is a gusset for the rear wheel arch. Anyway, kind of an interesting, subtle detail. A couple other things that you only find on the early cars. There's a gusset right here at the base of the B pillar. You can see that there. That's pretty distinctive. That little wedge kind of stiffening the union at the rocker panel there, right underneath the door hinge, the door latch, that is. So that's a 58 trait. And then one other thing that's kind of cool is you see how the coil is mounted on this 1960 here on a little bracket that's like spot welded onto the inner fender. It puts the coil at a 45. And here, the coil on this car's a 58 as well. You see the coil is on the generator on its like piggyback on top of the generator. And of course, on some of these cars, early setup moves to a later car, but this happens to also be a 58 car. There are a couple other differences, but those are the main ones, and I wanted to share them here with you today at Bugeye Guy.